Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rescripted Podcast. I am your host and personal development coach, Amy Quiles. In today's episode, I want to talk about a revelation that I came to discover that completely shifted the way that I saw how you personally develop when you're moving from one season to another. As many high achievers know, when you are developing something, when you are creating something from the ground up, you have different phases that you go through. And one of the very first ones is your development phase, right? You have your research and development season, and that is where you are accumulating the data that you need to accurately produce what it is that you're really trying to execute, right? Whether it's a product, whether it is a service, you need to understand the research that goes into it so that you could develop it the way that you want it to be consumed. And that takes work, that takes effort, that takes a lot of dedicated time. And sometimes in that season, you have to isolate yourself, right? So there's that season where you're actually protecting what you do. You don't share it with many people, you don't really discuss it too much. It's really not public knowledge quite yet. It's something that you're working on in the background. So, what does your daily activity look like? A lot of times, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of isolated work. You're doing so much heavy lifting that you almost forget what daylight looks like. And then when you finally have everything together, you have that eureka moment where all of your hard work is going to start paying off. You did all the tasks, you did all the systems, you did all of the development that needed to happen. So, what is the next step? The next step is bringing it to exposure. Now, guess what? You have to kind of start that all over again. You have to do that research and development. What do you want to have your brand message be? How do you want to expose? Who do you want to be a part of this like collaboration to bring this, awareness to life? And then so on and so forth, right? But the problem is, instead of seeing them as two different things, a lot of the times we're so pressed on how quickly we can get things done that we try to merge those two things together. We try to get that research and development, and we want our potential client's opinion. So we bring it to light and we allow everyone to share their opinions on it. Right. So by the time it gets to the stage where we can bring that awareness to it, there's been so many different opinions and so many outlooks and so many different perspectives that what you originally started to do starts to get diluted. So you have a product and you're doing it and it's supposed to reach the masses. But for whatever reason, it's not fulfilling you. You feel a void. You feel like there is this part of you that although you finished it and although it's developed and although it's, bringing pleasure to people, for some reason you feel a little irritation about it. You're not too impressed yourself, in a sense. And it's not because emotionally you're not satisfied. You did all the work you had to do. It's not that you're mentally feel like, you're burnt out. And although you may be, you realize it's not anything in what you did. It had nothing to do with your task. It had nothing to do with the execution. You did everything right, right? On paper, everything you did was right. But why does it feel off a little bit? Well, a lot of times, although we're out here trying to get everyone's opinion because we want to make the most effective product possible, and the greatest way to do that is to get your potential client's opinion, you forget one major voice in all this, and it is listening to your intuition. Because in that, you are able to understand what you are truly meant to impact, what your calling is, what your purpose is, and you're able to see what direction you're meant to take something. Because if you live life long enough, and I'm sure many of you have, you realize there are many different ways to approach something. There's many different viewpoints, there's very many different angles, and when you try to hit too many targets at the same time, you actually miss your goal and you're just so off track, but you don't even know how you're off track because it is feeding some people, but it's not feeding you. And how can you pour into it? How can you make it grow? How can you make it better if you don't know what's missing? You stop adding your calling to it. You stop adding your perspective to it. You stop adding your purpose to it. So there's a significant component that is missing and will forever be missing if you don't take the right steps. And that is having a true value for what you do. I know the whole world is always in a rush. We're in a rush. We're behind the eight ball all the time. But at the end of the day, rushing doesn't allow us to make a better product. Rushing allows us to dilute the process, which then dilutes the product's potential. And although we're able to execute it faster, we're able to get it done faster, it doesn't mean that you're creating something that's worth the quality in which you intended it to be. And what is sacrificed is the quality of your product. And what is sacrificed is the quality of how you pour in, because when you create something, then now you're committed to it. It's almost like your baby. You have to continue to pour into it, to nurture it, to grow it, to really have it evolve. But if you don't even know where the foundation is, then how do you know how to evolve it? And that's where a lot of high achievers get stuck. We try to do so much in such a little time, and we get so hyper focused on the tasks that you forget one major component, which is you have to allow yourself to rest. And I know it seems counterintuitive because we feel like the quicker we get things done, the quicker we're able to get the results and meet the results that we want. But when we don't stop and rest, we don't allow ourselves to get in tuned with what we're supposed to do, what our calling is. We don't allow ourselves to listen to our intuition, which is really truly our God's voice guiding us. And instead of making a wonderful product or service, you end up making something that's mediocre, maybe just something that's trendy. So then what happens then? You may have gotten something out to the market quickly, but then you have to quickly change it again because the market is always changing. You're having to keep up with trends. You're having to keep up with what is the next greatest, like, rave going on. And ultimately, you're on this constant hamster wheel of trying to feed the masses when truly the masses are just trying to find substance. And you, as a creator, as a developer, it's your job to find out what that substance is. And the only way to find it truly is to realize what's inside you. What is your calling? What is your purpose? What is your distinct, unique ability that only you can do? Because although we can't please everyone, but there are people that we can impact. And that's ultimately what you want to do. As a high achiever, you have more interest in just having a strong career. You want to mean something. You want to have purpose. You want to have significant impact because that's something that you can build on, not just accolades, but you want to know that what you're doing contributes to a greater good, right? And the greater good has longevity, far more than what's trendy, what's at the moment. You want something that's timeless, and that takes time to create. So when you're in your development stage, you have to honor it by keeping it private, keeping it exclusive, and almost think of it like a seed. Whenever you have a seed, it could grow into many great things depending on your seed, right? You can have a seed for a tree, you can have a seed for a flower, you can have a seed for a fruit, but it's not exposed. It's covered in a shell. It's under protection. And then you plant that seed, and then again, it's under protection. And it has to evolve, and it will naturally come to service where it will need a certain amount of exposure to continue to grow. And that's going to feed it, but at its own unique, distinct stage, not all together. And as high achievers, we've kind of gotten into this role of trying to do everything all at once to try to cut corners, but we're not really cutting corners. We're actually just giving ourselves more future work. The true systematic process to all this is that you almost kind of deal with all the work up front, right? You almost kind of take on that heavy load, that heavy burden up front of dissecting, uncovering, unmasking, and developing something magnificent and great so that later on you could save yourself future time. But we have things a little backwards. We're trying to save ourselves present time, but it's just accumulating more time in the future. And that's something that's going to cause this great burnout, and we're going to be lost altogether. And as a coach, I don't want that for you. I don't want you burnt out. I don't want you lost. I don't want you to be misguided and then feel more pressure because you're misguiding others. No, I want you to have clarity. I want you to have peace. I want you to have understanding of what it is that you're doing. Ultimately, essentially, I want you to be aligned with your purpose. But first, we have to figure out what those internal constraints are that are holding us back, that are setting us back, and that won't let us really push forward the correct way. And if you feel that, you feel like you have this internal tug letting you know that you're not really on your right path. There's something missing, there's something out of alignment. And I do invite you to take my complimentary quiz that helps you discover what your internal constraint is. Because once we're able to decode what that is, then we're able to move forward more efficiently, more effectively. And there you're going to feel like you're saving time because you're moving in the right direction. You're moving in the correct sequence of things. You start to operate in a synchronized manner. And if you look at God's creation, everything does happen in a synchronized manner, right? There's seasons to everything. Not everything is pushed and shoved into one moment in time. Everything has its own honorable stage so that it could really maximize its evolvement. And I want the same for you. So, if you are somebody that is struggling with internal constraints, there's something inside of you letting you know that you are off balance in somewhere in your life, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally, you just know something is off. I want you to take that quiz so you can discover what it is. But if you've already taken my quiz and you realize where you are in your stage of personal development, then I invite you to book a call with me so that we can really get into it and discover what is your unique path forward. And I'll link both things down below because we're entering a new year, and it's easy for us to think that we're entering a new season. But before we enter this new season, we want to be able to effectively clear out the noise that we currently have so we can really understand distinctively where we stand. What stage in our journey are we truly in so that we know how to move forward effectively? Because if you want great change, then what you're asking for is clarity, because clarity is going to allow you to move forward in the correct way. And I want to be able to provide that for you through my coaching program. So if you are interested, go ahead and book a call with me and we can see what our next steps are together. And if anything in this episode touched your heart and rang true to you, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel because we're entering a new year and I truly want you to win. And the only way we could do that is to be here committed together so that we can move forward effectively. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you enjoyed this episode and feel like it was insightful, then I ask you to please rate it, like it, and subscribe. And share it with someone you feel will enjoy it. I'll be back here next week and we will continue to discuss matters regarding personal development. Take care, guys. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.